Hey guys, Opal here and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite tips to kind of help you get started with your decorating in Disney Dreamlight Valley. Now, hopefully if you're just starting out or even just looking to give your valley a big makeover, hopefully these tips help and make the process a lot easier and fun. So my first tip for you would be to start small. Start by grabbing a little area of your valley, just start placing down some items. This is a lot less overwhelming and gives you a lot of room to focus on the small details, and you can really do a lot with really small builds. This could also mean just doing interior decorating in a room of your house, just to kind of start off your process. My next tip would be to lay out your large items first. So this is like houses and buildings, and then you can fill out the space around them with smaller decor pieces. Now this is just really helpful because it takes up a lot of space and you can kind of just base everything around that certain building. This doesn't have to be a building also, it could even just be a fountain. It just makes it a lot easier to go in and decorate around this item. My third tip is to use pathways for structure and also for the ability to be able to easily walk through your biome. If you do this first or early, it really helps create a structure for your valley and helps you connect your important locations, which is really crucial later on. Sometimes I've done decorating where I have accidentally forgot to do the pathing first, and then the pathing just looks off and weird. Now obviously you can still make it work, but this just makes it a lot easier in the long run. My next tip is to play around with different path styles. There's so many different path materials that we have in the game. We have bordered paths, which can be great in using as fake garden beds. I do this a lot. You can also add multiple paths together. This also makes a really cool look. I've done this a lot, but yeah, we have so many different pathing styles, so there's a lot to pick from. Even just placing them down and replacing them, I think this is a really good way to kind of start off your inspiration, start off your design. My next tip is to start off with some very simple decor. You don't have to have fancy items, you don't have to have premium items. Just start placing down some benches, some bins. I don't know, it really depends on what you're decorating, but this could also just mean placing down some bushes that you know are going to be a good color for your build. Just small things like that to just start off your build process just with very simple items. Another thing is using flowers for decorations. I've only just started doing this and I am so glad that I started doing this. It really can either finish off your build, or even if you do it in one of your earlier steps, that's fine too. It can really help, get a color palette down for your build. I think it's really hard on your item limit sometimes, depending on the flower, but I think this is a really good tip for decorating and making your spaces feel a lot more full. My next tip is to not be afraid to delete items. And it doesn't even have to be items too. If your valley feels too cluttered, don't hesitate to move trees, bushes, or decor or anything like that. It's absolutely fine. I do it all the time. It actually really helps. If I've maybe done a build, I think it's ugly, I tear it down, I do it better. It's good. Even if it's the whole build, it really doesn't matter. The next time you do it, you're going to have more experience. So yeah, don't hesitate to delete things if you don't like it. My next tip is to use your fruit trees and items like that, the ones that you can't remove, the annoying ones that kind of get in your way. Use them in your builds. Try your hardest, because I reckon they look really cute and they can really work in a lot of different builds. I think that they're really annoying, obviously. I wish we could delete them, but we can't. But I've seen so many amazing builds using these. My tip earlier was to use bordered paths as like fake garden beds, and this is perfect to do this and then put the trees on top. I think it looks really cute. Now this next tip I don't really follow, but it is helpful and I'm going to try and do it more, but this is to focus on functional decorating. So this means placing crafting tables in your builds, cooking stations in your build, making sure your mining nodes are free, your fishing places are free. This is a really good tip, especially if you're first starting the game, just because when you cover these up, it's obviously going to be really hard to get the materials that you need. Now, I've been playing for a while, so I've got lots of different materials and I don't really do much harvesting and stuff, so yeah. But if you're new, this is really, really crucial and important. My next tip is also a pathing tip, and this is to use the little rocks as borders for your pathing when you're going for a more natural look. Now, you don't have to do this, but I always think this is a really good way to kind of give a lot to your build. I don't know, I think it looks really, really pretty. Obviously, if you're on Switch, this isn't going to be a very good tip for you just because of the item limit, but if you can, I think it looks amazing. My next tip is to use seasonal decor. This doesn't necessarily mean like star path items, things like that, but for instance, doing fall decor, Christmas decor, Halloween decor, things like that. That's just a really fun way. Obviously you have the inspiration because it's that season, and yeah, I think it's just a fun way to start off your valley and have little seasonal areas in your valley. I think it's just really cute and brings a lot of joy into your valley. Something that I really love to do in my valleys is to create little hangout spots. So this could be picnic areas, parks, markets, stalls and things like that. This is a really good way, especially if you don't have many premium houses, this is a really good way to take up space. Even if you have all the premium houses, this is still a really good way to incorporate a little bit more into your biomes. I think it's just a really fun way to kind of bring a little bit of life into your valley. And yeah, there's so many different things that you can do with this, but my favorite is definitely just making little market areas, especially around towns, cities and things like that. My next tip is to not be afraid to use different trees and plants that aren't from that particular biome and use them in biomes where they're not the native tree or bush. Honestly, I don't think I really ever use only just the specific plants and foliage from that biome. I always mix them up, and it also is really nice to add different colors, and yeah, I think it blends in a lot more and makes it look a lot more natural when you do this too. Another thing that I love to do in my valley is to use crafted items for decor. This is especially great if you're a new player. They can be very material intensive, but there's so many amazing people, especially in the Discord. You can join our community Discord, and there's so many amazing people that will come and give you literally any material you may need. So yeah, and also cooked items. I love doing this for bakery builds, any park builds. I'll always have some food on the table. It just makes your builds look so much more cuter and cluttered in the best way possible. My next tip is mostly for Switch players with your 3,000 item limit, and this is to be mindful of your object limit. Now, there's so many ways to kind of use less, and my biggest tip for this would be to use the big pre-built tree clusters, rock clusters. There's so many good ones, especially with the Eternity Isle expansion pass. But even if you don't have these or they don't fit into your build, because I know from personal experience that not all of those fit into your build, but this could also mean just having more open areas. You could have, an open park, things like that. Definitely using bordered paths really help fix this issue too, because you don't have to place extra things to kind of blend things in. But yeah, my next tip is to hide ugly objects with trees, and we have if you're a new player, we have the ugly Scrooge signs. Placing a stall in front of these really helps. We also have trees, bushes, things like that you can kind of hide those with. But also, if you're not a new player, we all know the ugly mailboxes that we have. I've seen a lot of people cover these with bikes. I usually cover them with bushes, and you can, but there's so many things that you can cover them with. My next tip is to play around with symmetry versus asymmetry. Obviously, if you want to do a very structured plaza, you might want to do something more symmetrical, and but if you're working with a more natural area, maybe you wanted to make a really natural jungle, then really play with your asymmetry here. Now this could also mean, even if you're trying to do a structured build, trying out some asymmetry designs. I think this is just a good kind of challenge for you, and it really makes your builds feel either more structured or more natural. Something else I really love to do in my valley is to take inspiration from the in-game characters. I did this decorating Minnie's house and Daisy's house, and I gave them a cute little pink area, but I also do this, for instance, when I'm building a Toontown. Obviously I'm taking inspiration for all of those Mickey and Friends Disney characters. This is just also a good way to figure out how to decorate these houses. A lot of them can maybe not look so pretty, so just placing them down, giving them their own little area, and using things from their collection, I think is a really fun way to use the items that you might not always use in your valley. My next tip is to take your time with building. Now this is going to be a little bit embarrassing, but the reason I have so many hours on this game, over 5,000 hours, is because before YouTube I used to spend about 5 hours on every design. I used to spend my weekends not even finishing a full design, but this was a really fun way to kind of learn how to decorate, take my time and play with some different items and color palettes and things like that. And yeah, it's really fun to kind of just chill out, take your time and have some fun. And my last and final tip is to look at some inspiration online. Now, that doesn't have to be me. It could be even just Pinterest or other YouTubers, other creators. There's so many people also in amazing Discord communities that have such amazing builds that share them regularly. So my tip would be to find someone's style that you really like, and yeah, just take some inspiration from them and make it your own. I hope this video was really helpful. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble for the last 13 minutes. Thank you so much. Bye bye.